Hello again, my name is Diane and I design and make patchwork quilts, and this quilt is the Tuesday quilt. Tuesday's child is full of grace, which is also known as Tree of Paradise Quilt, and if you'd like to see how I made this one, please continue watching. And this is the design for my latest quilt, and I've taken inspiration for this quilt from this book. And as you can see, listed in the contents page, each chapter is the name of a quilting block. So I needed to find a quilting block to fit in with my design for the cornerstones around the border, and I chose to use the letter X block for placement there, and I also made an adaptation of the secret drawer block for the centre of my quilt. So I'll show you my fabric. So I've got a soft pink, a faded yellow and a white. Those will be for the 3 triangles that Grace included in her quilt. I want to incorporate those. Then I've got this lovely black with a scroll pattern. And there's also a scroll pattern on the white. It's white on white. So this will be the cable, the snakes around the outside. Then this is the background, and then this is the canopy. So there's mustard in the canopy. So this is the light part of the canopy, and this will be the dark part of the canopy, the triangles. And I think that will be beautiful. Really love that. And then I also have these 2 fabrics, which is a lovely deep red. That's quite a warm colour. May or may not use these solid, that's solid, but those are the fabrics. So I have enough now to get quilting. The area I'm going to start on first is this narrow twisting cable pattern, the snakes, the black and white snakes. And to create this, I need small squares. So the squares need to be 1 3/4 inches, half square triangles. And so the way I've constructed that is to take width of fabric 3 inches wide, and I'm working on the white and the background. So it's 3 inches wide, width of fabric, 1/4 inch seam. Then I chop these into 3-inch squares and then sew down each side. That's the first part. And then I snip off the corners and then cut on the diagonal and then finger press open. There we have our little teeny weeny half square triangles. To assemble the twist, every row is the same. So it starts with a dark part of the zigzag on the top with a white on the bottom, and then it has a white half square triangle on that side with the outside, the backing in the middle, and then on the other side there's the backing and a black half square triangle. So you have the black triangle you start with, you have a white half square triangle with a background, then you have the background with a dark half square triangle, and then the white joined on the bottom. So that's the layout for the twisting spiral, and when you put it together it looks like that. Always starting on the top with the dark. All 4 rows are the same. All you need to be aware of is don't iron any of this yet, just finger press so you don't get any warping because it's on the bias, and you can manoeuvre your seams into place, and then once you've got a whole long row, then iron it. Okay, it's looking really pretty. Well, now I've completed all 4 sides of the snakes, the twisting cable. So all of these are complete, and I've also completed the X in the letter X blocks. So these I've completed and down the tree, and I've used exactly the same method. So I ended up with a 1 3/4 inch half square triangle, but instead of using the black with a white scroll, I decided to go with a grunge, a black. There is some little bits of grey in there to break up the solid, and in the background there's little bits of grey, so it'll all tie in nicely. So these are the X's, and I haven't completed the actual letter X block yet here because I'm not quite decided what colour to make these. I am leaning towards the red. It does tie in nicely, and towards the tree, but I'm going to hold back on that for a little while until I've made the canopy. So I'm just going to put these half square triangles together now in the light and dark, and I'm using exactly the same method as I made the other half square triangles in the 1 3/4 inch size, except instead of starting from a 3-inch square, I shall be starting from a 4 3/4 inch square, and that will give me a 3-inch half square triangle. So that's my next step. If you look closely at the canopy, you might just be able to see where I've made some red marks, and that's to show how I'm going to sew these in blocks. So I have a 4 by 3 block, and then I have a 1 by 2, another 1 by 2, and then a single half square triangle here, and that will form half of the canopy. I have to be careful to make sure that all of the half square triangles are facing out, the dark are facing out on that side, and then on the other half of the triangle they're facing the opposite way. Same blocks for 4 trees, except you just have to be careful of the direction of the half square triangles. So they're all sewn, and you can see that my next job is to start working on these half square triangles, the red in the background. And I have made a slight alteration to the design. I've put a red square there. It was originally half the same as this, but I just thought I wanted a little bit more weight at the top of the tree just to balance out the canopy. So there you can see all of the half square triangles in their blocks, one for the left of the tree, one for the right, and the little black squares in the centre. So now on to the red and the gold. I was just packing up for the day. I thought I might cut a few strips of fabric ready for tomorrow, the red and the gold. And then I had another look at the design, and as you can see, I've added some more. So I've put some red on-point squares inside, and then I put another on-point square outside, and then I thought I'll put a small on-point square, and I think that looks beautiful. Now all I need to do is sew it. As you can see, I've introduced another floral, this time with a red background, which I think will work beautifully against this gold. And I'll show you where I'm going to place that. I'm going to use that pretty red floral in these squares, on point squares, and also in the centre, so that'll bring in that fabric. I've now sewn all of the half square triangles for this inner part. I haven't yet decided on these, the small squares, so I'm leaving those for the moment. And my next job is, if you look here, you can see there's a half square triangle. Those are red, and there is a corner missing. So that ties in with these. So I'm just working my way through that at the moment. And you can see the way that I'm putting that together is on the red half square triangles. I'm just taking a 1.5 inch square. There's a very faint line drawn across there, and I pop it on the corner and then snowball it, and I'll trim that down to a 3-inch square. So that's my next job. And once I finish putting all those little black cornerstones in here, I'm going to just make up this central square. So that's the centre of the quilt. So I'll make that up and then I'll get back to you. And that's what it looks like close up. As you can see, you've got 4 cornerstones. So there's the yellow and the pink and the white triangles. And then these little corner blocks, these snowballs of black on the ends of these half square triangles, give a movement around the quilt that I wasn't expected, but very pleased to discover. So next part is the piece that comes across the top. So the next part I'm going to concentrate on is this gold background with there's 2 half square triangles meeting at the bottom, and then an on-point square in the red floral background. And I just need to make 4 of those. They're identical. Now I've got 4 little blocks to make. 2 of the black and white, 2 of the gold and red, 2 solid gold, 2 solid red and a black one. And they form the corners. There we go. That is the centre now of the quilt complete. And now I'm going to start working on the canopy. Put that together and I'll show you how that develops. Now we're going to put together 4 identical blocks again, and they are 4 by 4. So we have the on-point square red floral background fabric, a smaller square, and then the half square triangles from the canopy that converge in the middle. And that is those 4 complete. I really love the way this quilt is developing. Each little section seems to have its own personality. This seems light and airy. So I constructed the small square on point exactly the same way as I constructed the cable pattern, starting with a 3-inch square and making 1 3/4 inch half square triangles. So quite simple, but very beautiful. So now I'm going to be working on the canopy on each side of that. So now I'm going to take 2 of these central pieces here, and I'm going to work out to the left and out to the right to the corner of the canopy, and then I will attach the snakes on the top, or the cable twist, and then a little slither to bring that up to size. So it will be 1 3/4 inch band on the other side of the snake, and I need to construct 2 of those. Well, it's confession time. If you see here, and coming down to the snakes on the bottom and the same on the top, I've had to split that cable pattern and the bottom one because I want to join this in one panel up the centre, and I had joined them in 4 identical rows. So 4 little seams to unpick there today, and put everything else roughly in place, and then tomorrow I shall piece this together and start quilting, and I'll show you when it's finished. Now it's all quilted in a simple cross hatch. It's so soft and lovely, 100% cotton. It's a good size. It's 61 inch square, 155 centimetres, and as you can see, I have pieced the back just to keep costs down really. The fabrics on the back are taken from the fabrics on the front, the leftovers, and times are hard for a lot of people, and it is a beautiful quilt, and I would like somebody to buy this who would love it and could afford it really. So I will show you the front. Ta-da! It reminds me of a Persian carpet. It's very beautiful, very rich. If you have a look in the cornerstones, I finally decided to add the gold background and just a red to tie in with the trunk of the trees. So I think that's worked. I'm really pleased with that. I wanted to make a quilt that was full of grace, inspired by Grace Marks, and I think I've achieved that. I have included a Tree of Paradise, I have included the red, and there are the 3 triangles in the centre, the yellow, the white and the pink. And there is also the letter X blocks in the corner and the secret drawer block in the centre. So I think I'm pleased with that. Okay, I'll take some photographs now and put it in my Etsy shop. I used a yellow thread in the quilting, and I think that looks lovely. It goes with everything. So if you've enjoyed watching this video, please subscribe, give me a thumbs up, hit the notification button, and the next quilt, when it's posted, you'll be able to see it, and that is the Saturday quilt. Saturday's child works hard for a living. So thank you for watching. Take care of yourselves. Bye.